I'ma twist it, flip it, stick it like a bop it. Tell them stop it, all them haters out of pocket. Let me plug it like a socket, baby. Big on the said what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chit chat. Fuck with the kid, know I got to get paid. Big on the said what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chit chat. Fuck with the kid, know I got to get paid.
Wave, tell me, can you slide for a real one?
Slide for me, slide for me.
Can you slide for a real one?
Can you slide for me, slide for me?
Can you slide for a real one? Can you slide for Baby, say I make her nervous. Maybe cause I'm real nigga on the surface. Maybe cause I'm 10 down where the turf is. Don't get lost in those facades on the guys. You know ain't nobody perfect. I just put the work in. I know what my worth is. I'm living lavish. I'm flossing, bossing, and bagging up cash off the passion. Out here with my niggas, AV to the casket. We reckless, stay in your lane. I'm on gas till somebody cut the brakes. Cutting off these haters in the heads of the snakes. It's been in the plan, bitch, you catching on late. And she just sent the emoji, said she wetter than a lake. So I better not flake, take a break, say word. Hit me when you through with that shit, then we can shift again. My schedule been clear. These niggas see me, they mad like I'm one of their peers. I put that on Sita, so I'm sure it's abundantly clear. I'm hella big on the said what I said shit. Eyes low off the legal in the red web. Put the leg room and the roof gone. Man, I came a long way from them deals off the Groupon, right?
Big on the said what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chit chat. Fuck with the kid, know I got to get paid. Big on the said what they said, part. So I skip straight ahead to the bread part. Top out, I'm cool on the chit chat. Fuck with the kid, know I got to get paid.
Keep it real with you, I've been in the field in position. Yeah, yeah. I've been trail, you could tell by how I feel when you with me. Yeah. Tell me, can you slide for me? Can you slide for it one? Yeah, yeah. Tell me, can you slide for it one? Yeah.
With the black man, the original man. You might think of the menacing style.
On Legends of Asphalt Kings. Now, here for us with what is going to be no doubt a very interesting calendar ahead of us. 5 rounds of intense racing with one car to be used across all of the 5 fields. Should be an interesting one with myself, James Otter, and Adam Reed alongside me for this one. It should be a good one, this, Adam, here. Very interesting event now. The Asphalt Kings taking a completely different direction here. As we take a quick look at our calendar, we have a visit to the Watkins Glen short course to start off here for our championship, where everyone will be racing in a BMW M3 Sport Evolution from 1989.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, James. It's good to be back here on the Asphalt Kings Championship here on Gran Turismo 7. If we're just having a look through the Canada, we go to Watkins Glen and then we go to a fancy circuit on Blue Moon Bay Speedway. It should be an absolute corker, that one. Then we head to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal before then heading to the UK for Goodwood before then rounding off our season in Europe in Sardinia. Look at that, 5 different cars spreading across 5 rounds of this championship, and in one that should be in superb fashion. I'm sure it will be as entertaining as ever.
Yeah, completely different take on this usual Asphalt Kings Championship. We usually see, obviously, everyone using either the GT3 or GT2 cars, but here we take a trip to the road cars now, as the drivers have got to adapt to utilizing, regular tires, regular tire compounds. We're talking about regular cars with the regular engines that are fitted inside the base models. So there shouldn't be any expectation that we're going to be setting lap times out of the wazoo. But one thing we are certainly looking forward to is seeing how the drivers, adapt to these kind of conditions, knowing that these cars are going to be significantly slower. And that offers maybe an opportunity as we head over to, I think we're going to have a little fast lap here of Watkins Glen in the BMW M3. That would suggest, that these drivers, they've all got to try and grasp, haven't they, now, this car? Hopefully we do have it on board. Here it is. Significantly slower car. Does that benefit, those that are in the midfield here? Now they've got a little bit more freedom.
Yeah, I think that it will be interesting to see, because of course I'm a firm believer of you don't have to be in the fastest car to have brilliant racing. We have these cars which probably top out about 140 miles an hour, and they're going to make some absolutely fantastic racing. It's going to be proper touring car style esque as well. You're just seeing now how tricky the chicane's going to be, because you can see the arm code there, which is pointing right at the drivers. If you turn too early, you're going to be smashing into that and destroying your BMW A3. So it will be really interesting to see how that turns out. You have to be really threading the needle through that section. There is going to be the slowdown on this long straight, so it will be pretty critical just to avoid that, because that could be pretty demoralizing if you are in a great place but having to serve a penalty. That can probably range from about half a second up to about 2 seconds, I assume. Then around the last corner, using all of the exits, raising the wall, and that is going to be a lap of the Watkins Glen shorts, just under 4 kilometers in length as well. And I'm sure that there will be some very, very incredible action around here, James.
Yeah, it should be as well, to be fair. We are at the short circuit here tonight, so there's no boot, toe, heel or shoot here. So we are going to be expecting just the 11 corners around here, as we, of course, all the drivers are going to be at the famous 90 side by side, of course, as they head around the circuit. So hopefully we'll be heading on board or heading over to the live stream in just a few short moments to sort of review what we've got ahead of us. Of course, we've got the qualifying event ahead of the main event. And, typically at the end of it, the drivers have got to adapt into that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have got going into qualifying, that's for certain. The Asphalt Kings has been brought to you by Motorsync, Intercomp Monsters, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and the Specialist. And here at Velocity Esports, qualifying is just around the corner. Don't go away. Autobahn Asphalt Kings Legends, then also the Asphalt Kings Autobahn Legends, and the Velocity Esports is here for what will be no doubt a very, very interesting set of events ahead of us here, as everyone will be racing in the spec BMW M3 from 1989. So, answers on a postcard, folks, of who you think your favourite is for this one here, because one thing is for certain, it is completely up in the air. We have a spec car series, it's a slow car series as well, because they're all technically road cars. So, you know, thoughts and feelings on this one here, Adam. What of these drivers, you know, got ahead of them? Are we going to be expecting, you know, something maybe of lower quality? Maybe the drivers are gonna, you know, from the midfield are going to be able to close up the gap, or is it going to offer more opportunity for our faster drivers to sort of speed out, knowing that the chance of making a mistake is so much more limited while the cars are slower?
It's an interesting one. I think a lot of it is also going to be down to the format. So if you're not aware of the format, we're going to be having a 10-minute qualifying session right here, right now. The interesting part is going to be the race. We'll then go into a 13-minute race where the grid is based on qualifying. Then we'll head into a 20-minute sprint race where the grid will be reversed from the previous results of race 1's results, and then we'll go from there. So the fast driver will be put at the back, the slower driver will be put in the front, and that will be pretty much how our race 2 grid is decided. 14 drivers are going to be taking to the racetrack here in Gran Turismo at the short circuit of Watkins Glen. You can see a lot of familiar faces around new and old. So we're going to wait over the outlap on towards this first lap here for absolutely everyone. Not a soul is left in the pits, and already seeing Ayrton Birmingham Addicts there with his with a fantastic classic livery to kick things off. I'm sure I saw a Jägermeister livery earlier. Some absolute classics around here. There is Christian Sabat leading the way.
Yeah, and with a car raced in 1989, the expectation, isn't it, that there will be, you know, a situation where we're going to see some classic liveries. Always a pleasure to see the people spending their times on designing liveries, especially for these one-off events, because of course we're not going to be seeing the BMW after this round, because next round we've got the Audi TT Coupe, the 3.2 litre Quattro from 2003. Then we take a little bit of a trip back to the 911 GT3 in 2001 for the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve race. Then we go to probably the most modern of the cars of the series, the Mark 7 GTI Golf from 2014. And then we'll wrap it all up with the Mercedes-Benz 190E, the 2.5 litre inline six, I think that is, isn't it? The 1991 car. So plenty of opportunities for drivers to experience old and new in this championship, and that's why we've got such a high turnout for this event. 14 drivers wanting to get on with it here. We're following Christian Samet at the moment, but being chased very closely at the moment by John. Alongside Denzel Adjus down in P8, but the first lap times will be coming in, and thick and fast they come. Addicts, there is Ayrton Birmingham already 2 tenths up on John Paul Vella, but we have got other laps coming in. Craig Orland should be relatively okay. Denzel Adjus goes P4 in this one as well. Daniel straight up to P2, around about a tenth of a second down. So decent lap times coming in, but no surprises there. Ayrton Birmingham is already at the front.
Yeah, of course, this is still early stages, but of course you don't get a lot of laps around here. 121.0 is the gap at the minute, so they're just trying to put themselves into a great advantage here. Ayrton Birmingham has to go behind Potts there. It does go purple in this sector, so drivers still just trying to negotiate at full track conditions here. They make their way around the long right hand of turn 5 here. Right, 6 and 7. Just see as well. So looks like Ayrton Birmingham and David Potts getting a great century off the back of Christian Sabat. So I think it's going to be one of those where century is going to be very, very important. The leader of that secondary pack is. We'll have to look at that and see who that is after the leading this one away. So it does seem like a lot of drivers now starting to filter in some even better lap times. We'll have to see how who's pushing the limits and who isn't, who's still waiting for their moment to shine.
And Orland is flying out there at the moment as well. He's just set a personal best in the first sector. In fact, his seat is a best at the moment across the entirety of the field. So obviously he's going a little bit further back here, and you can see person just in front of him has actually got a time penalty to serve, and that is the other Spiteri man himself heading his way now down towards the outer loop. Obviously going to go for the inner loop. It's just an opportunity for Glen Orland, who's just sort of finding areas, another personal best from him. He's been struggling a little bit maybe through here, and that's exactly what we've seen there. The car not behaving very nicely on the entry of the inner loop. As they go through the outer loop, this is where we'll see obviously the penalties be applied. The slowing down now being applied to the other Spiteri man, as he now will slow down. Will get this overtake probably done no issue whatsoever, as he heads then towards turn 5, which is of course the turn 10 corner, a little bit wide, missing his apex, won't be comfortable out there. Will Clint on with that one, because Sama looking particularly strong at the moment as well. Denzel Adjust doing the same thing, but Dave Potts still leading the way at the moment. Clint Alden, on the other hand, looking good in the first sector. His second and third looked a little bit shaky, as he's found about 10 seconds to beat. He stays unfortunately down in P13, and that may be as a result of the man behind him now perhaps just being a little bit distracting on his lap.
Yeah, I kind of felt that as well. A lot of track limits being used here, so you can kind of see the amount of penalties. 1.5 seconds I saw for one of our drivers. That's going to be unfortunate. Agius there on the first sector, so still a little bit down. He's running a Dragon Ball Z livery as well, so a really nice touch to his design on this car. Hopefully he's going to try and carry that all the way through the season with all the cars being handed over to his drivers, half a second here, half a second there in terms of penalties. So it's going to be pretty difficult. I wonder where they're going to be getting those. I'm going to shoot turn 1 down at 90. I'm going to shoot the inner loop, potentially the outer loop if they want to extend some track limits at turn 6 and turn 7 as well. So one the inner loop at turn 5, 6 and 7 are ones you can get penalties with. So you've got to be careful through that sequence. So pretty much half of the corners here on the circuit.
Yeah, Denzel Agius, of course, was guilty of a track extension challenge in the last GT tournament. That's the Maserati GT2 challenge that we experienced, which actually lost him the title. So Denzel Agius will be very aware, hyper aware, in fact, of the time penalties that can be applied at a slowdown, which tonight will be just after the outer loop. And I agree, I think the 90 and the inner loop are almost certainly going to be the hot spots for there, as we see Juicer there down 1.5 seconds with penalties, as well as Denzel Agius looking in the inner loop very strong in that Dragon Ball Z BMW M3, so he'll be losing the rear ever so slightly, but he'll be happy to do so actually, as he just finds himself with having that little front end grip. There's the slowdown for Juicer. 1.5 seconds is going to be an age for him, as you can see the amount of time he's losing as a result of that one. Denzel Agius will head his way now down towards what will now be turn 6, what is normally turn 10, of course, because we haven't got the boot for this event, which is a little bit of a shame to say the least. We've got a little bit of a mistake from Ayrton Birmingham there, so he found himself off of the circuit and got a 1.5 second slowdown penalty, as Denzel Agius goes down to P6, as it looks like John Paul Vella has gone up to P5. Will Denzel Agius improve? He doesn't. He's still down 0.2 of a second on his personal best, and the man that we would consider one of the favourites for this championship not looking particularly quick so far, as Ayrton Birmingham back up to the top with a 1:27.38.
With 2 laps to go here in terms of this qualifying session, they'll probably all pass it with just enough time. There's also a stray car going down the back straight, it seems like, towards turn number 6 there. That's going to be Osbert Schweder, so he's getting absolutely no toe whatsoever compared to the rest of the drivers back you can see they're going in towards the chicane there. So Osbert Schweder so very much on his own, and this is going to be his last lap, and he's kind of all over the place. I'm just kind of surprised there that he's sitting in P7. That will be the 4th row of the grid. Lost a lot of time in that last sector, so he's still trying to push on here, but it doesn't seem like he's got too much on there. I think we've had a spin as well down in toward the exit of the chicane as well. So that's going to be really costly. And you're just seeing that timer tick down 30 seconds. And this should be the last lap for the rest of the field here, James.
Yeah, that spinner actually might have just missed out a chance on potentially getting another lap in, and I'm just looking down the back of the field here as well. They've got 15 seconds to get to that start-finishing line, and I'm wondering actually if some people are going to miss out here. Well, keep an eye out then as these drivers now continue throughout their way, and to make note as well, Osbert Swereb has probably got damage on his car as well, because no doubt the car has got some kind of damage as a result of that collision at the final corner. So it's worth making note that every little mistake you make, you can actually pay the price in the Autobahn Legends Asphalt Kings. So we'll see then as Ozzy will be the last person to set a lap. A couple of people, unfortunately, did miss out in the end on the checkered flag. So unfortunately, their race is now, or their qualifying is done and dusted. Will Schwereb getting a better final corner then? Will he be able to improve on his lap, or was the damage too significant on his BMW M3? He comes across the line. It was significant, a second and a half down in the end, but that first corner at the 90 looked pretty poor to say the least. Where have we got other people coming across now? We've got people just at turn 5, turn 6. One of the first people to come across the line, I believe, will be Daniel. He'll be coming across the line to finish his lap. In fact, no, pardon me, it wasn't. It might have been John Paul Vella, actually. We'll see where John Paul Vella is. It is John Paul Vella. He now comes across the line alongside Marlon Spiteri. We've got more people improving. No improvements there. Further improvements at all across the board. Yeah, we did have one person improve. Denzel Agius up to P3. Great effort from the man in the Dragon Ball Z livery car. Jonathan Spiteri strolls down to P4. Danielle finishing in P5. John Paul Fellow finishing in P6. Christian Sammer managed to rise to P7 in the end in this one as well. But no one is beating our favourite Ayrton Birmingham at the moment. He's at the front of the field by just a little bit under 0.2 of a second to David Misford. That's Dave Potts alongside Denzel Agius, who's going to have, he's more known, isn't he, for his race pace, isn't he, Adam, over his main sort of qualifying pace. But in cars like this one, you need to qualify well. P3 is not a bad going considering where he was.
Yeah, indeed. You know, we've got quite the mix-up grid here, so it's about trying to be as fast as you possibly can, and yeah, just having a look around. You know, you got Ayrton Birmingham pole, we got Denzel Agius in third. We might be able to really adjust to that. And you got Spiteri, you got John Paul Vella. I think there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of drivers here to get some really, really, really good results. It's just about kind of keeping yourself in kind of tandem with absolutely everyone else. So I think discipline will be very much crucial. I think, you know, consistency will be very much crucial. And it will be also a big question of, will these drivers, you know, want to get their elbows out? How much are they willing to get the elbows out and really just lean on each other and trust each other when going into combat with these racing cars?
Yeah, so here's your grid then for the first race then. So it is Ayrton Birmingham leading the way from Dave Potts, Denzel Agius, Jonathan Spiteri. Daniel there doing a decent job up in P5 with John Paul, JP rather, up in P6. I'm looking forward to seeing how Christian Samet does it from P7 as well, and after getting that last ditch, 21.317, getting in front of Falzon Bono up in the P8. Down at the back of the field then, your final drivers from P9 to P14, hopefully we'll get to see in just a moment. Please, Mr. Director, hopefully you'll be able to switch us down. Are we going to see 9th through 14th? I don't think we are. Yeah, there they are. There we are. So Aussie in P9. From Juice Ilmore then in P11. A very uncharacteristic position actually for him down in P11. Orland in P12 also a little bit uncharacteristic for him. Marvin Spiteri down at the foot of the field, split by Adrian Zoom. So that is your grid for the first race then. It's of course the short race. A quick reminder, Adam, of the setup for this particular event, because it is of course, with the nature of this particular event, we've of course got a completely different kind of race ahead of us.
We do. 10 minutes of qualifying. 30-minute race is about to come before us, before then taking that grid, then turning into a 20-minute sprint. But for the first time here in the Asphalt Kings, Autobahn legends, we go racing here at Watkins Glen, and our drivers will divert their way down and towards the 90 for the first time. I had some Birmingham gliding a little bit wide there on the initial turn-in, but now it's about trying to get yourself in a rhythm as they now head their way up towards the sweeping corners of 2 and then 3, trying to duck into the slipstream already in these early stages. Look at David Potts as he makes his way on towards turn number 4 here. He's really closing in here on Ayrton Birmingham, trying to grab a little bit more toe towards that chicane. He goes, he's going to dart to that outside line, but great defense there from the Briton, and more move being potentially made. Johnson Spiteri trying to make a move there on Denzel Andrews with Daniel there in the background.
Yeah, decent effort so far then from the front fielders then, as Dave Potts, David Misford doing a decent job to keep Ayrton Birmingham, the favourite for this championship, under pressure. Jonathan Spiteri doing a relatively decent job as well to keep Denzel Agius as some company as well. Don't ever discredit as well John Paul Vella down in P6. He'll continue with his little race pace as the race continues to develop, of course, around here at the circuit, Watkins Glen. So here comes Dave Misford. He continues to put the pressure. They've good dive opportunity at the 90 as they finish the first lap of this race. Lap times in and around the 92nd mark as they will now approach down towards the 90. Will Misford go for the dive? He's more than welcome to. The pace is certainly there for the black BMW M3, but no moves to be made. A few people getting the 90 not quite right. Track extensions across the board here might be a problem for them, as it looks like Dave Misford has done exactly that. He has a 1 second slowdown penalty just as he comes out of the outer loop, and that is the opportunity for Denzel Agius, Jonathan Spiteri, maybe even Daniel Vella. And it looks like to me Dave Misford has realised the problem, so he's got to get this move done, gets the toe and goes side by side with Ayrton Birmingham. Denzel Agius also trying to get in the mix as well. It's going to get a little bit spicy as they go through into the inner loop, as he gets a little bit of a tag slapper, does Ayrton Birmingham, probably from Dave Potts, getting the move done. It might be a punt to pass, but he's through. But with that 1 second penalty, you'll see him slow down at the deceleration line as they go through here. We've got more people with problems. We've got addicts as well. With that 1 second penalty, people will start to slow down. It might be a little bit mental, to say the least, but it looks like to me Ayrton Birmingham's going to have to serve his penalty on the next occasion here, so then he will be able to claim P2 back, and Denzel Agius now leads this race. But our championship favourite is almost certainly going to be reeling from potentially David Misford going for that little bit of a dive down that inside line, causing his car to get a little bit of a wiggle on, and he cut the corner.
Yeah, that's not going to be ideal whatsoever there. So this will be interesting to see how Ayrton Birmingham approaches it. I think he almost put the bumper there to Denzel Agius, as it looks like Daniel will now move on forward here. They're going to be line astern, heading up the hill and on towards that chicane once again. They'll head on towards the S's, sweeping through this section, and then this the rear wheel drive inline 4 engines of that BMW will absolutely roar down the straight. Look at this little tussle with David Misford there, but Ayrton Birmingham will want to try and get ahead, but he doesn't here on Denzel Agius. Agius, will he make a mistake on the exit here? He grabs a little bit of grass, but it doesn't look like he's going to make a massive error. Daniel will move ahead on this one here, but this will be painful for Ayrton Birmingham. He'll slow right down. He will lose 3rd, he'll lose 4th, he'll lose 5th in fact as well, and might even lose he'll fall down to 6th there. So that's going to be pretty painful for the Briton, with Christian Samet now coming into battle. This is almost kind of Formula E-esque, other than they're not trying to save energy, but the gaps are just so minimal. They're picking up each other's slipstream and really just coming into each other's own battles here.
You hear that knocking? It's an opportunity on the horizon for Denzel Agius now knowing that probably the faster drivers in this field are now stuck in a little bit of a train. Daniel Mallia doing a decent job to try and hold off of the fact of John Paul Vella, but you know what? He is looking really rapid at the moment, his good old JP, as he now heads his way up the S's. He'll now head towards the inner loop, knowing that he's got the toe. He might even be able to put the Briton under some pressure here, and the Maltese man looking like he's going to go for the dive down that inside line, and he will continue with the toe. Might even get a little bit of a help, Daniel Malia, though, from the back of the Denzel Agius's car. They'll go side by side, but in the end, JP electing not to go for that move on this occasion. But a little bit of a grab hold there from Daniel Malia. That might put him under a little bit. Actually, it's probably helped him out a little bit. Actually, I was about to say he was under pressure, but actually, it's helped him out a little bit. Get that car turned in as he now puts Denzel Agius under pressure as they now approach the final couple of corners with this race now approaching 24 minutes to go. Denzel Agius, opportunity knocks, as I said, but he's got to keep it clean.
Yeah, this is some great opportunities here for a lot of these drivers. I think that's also 8th place Oscar Zverev trying to get into the battle. Remember, Oscar was really struggling at the end of qualifying, trying to get a lap together, and that put him right back there. So now he's kind of found a little bit of time here to try and just get himself into some space, really work on the driving here. Look at that, Jonathan Spiteri now up the inside there of David Misford. A little bit of a punt there, and it looks like Ayrton Birmingham will find a way through on not just one, but two cars there. Superb opportunity there for, it looks like, for Addicts as he finds his way through. And I think a very annoyed Jonathan Spiteri will now find himself getting passed there by Christus Sammer. Really good there from the Pennzoil yellow BMW. That was pretty crucial to see if Sammer can now make up some places.
Yeah, Jonathan Spiteri going for the dive bomb, as is this man here as well. Daniel Malia wanted to get the move done on JP. Might have actually done a little bit of a pump to pass, and he's done exactly that. And it will be one, and it will be 2 positions lost for good old JP. Ayrton Birmingham's 1 second penalty proving not to be that much of a problem, but half a second penalty will be a problem for John Paul Vella, who will now have to serve it not here, but he'll serve it on the next lap. As we've also got other people, I think Dave Misford has got a 1 second penalty as well to be served. Plenty of people struggling with the track limits here tonight at Watkins, Glen, as we've got potentially 3 wide going through turn number 6. Jonathan Spiteri still showing some serious aggression out there at the moment in that golden M3 as they go through turn number 6, getting the car turned in and may potentially going to have a little bit of a run as they go towards the 90. Remember, Dave Misford has a 1 second penalty. He's bump drafting him down towards the 90. This is fabulous to watch here. Does the golden M3 go for the dive at the 90? He will not, but Dave Misford has gone for a late breaker through the 90 and has cost dearly, I think, because Jonathan Spiteri might have got the run as they head now towards the S's. He might not put too much pressure on Misford, to be fair, because he's going to get the move done anyway when that 1 second penalty has to be served outside of the outer loop.
Yeah, so this is now going to be a pretty pivotal part of the race here, because again, Spiteri wants to get through here. Samet will want to relieve his opportunities, but you know, with track limits being this kind of harsh and this troublesome for these drivers, it might be that in that 20-minute sprint, you just want to be surviving here. So we'll now see Potsy now just slow down here, and that's I think a little bit of contact as well. That's going to be pretty unfortunate. So it's Denton Daniel from Addicts from, Ayrton Birmingham from John Paul Vella, and it's going to be a bit Misford from Spiteri from Samet from Zverev. That's your top 8, and there you can see Misford will fall down once again. There goes Zverev. So he's back. Well, I shouldn't say he's back, but he is up into 7s for one of the first times here. But in towards that right-hander, I think Misford is absolutely on it like a bonnet. He's trying to lean there on Oscar Zverev and try and force a way through here, trying to prise open the door. But this slips him down towards the 90, and I think this should go in the way of the right-hand man, David Misford.
Yeah, what a fabulous bit of racing this is here as they continue side by side. A little bit of bumping and shoving, but in the end, David Misford Potsy has that one done and dusted. As we got Jonathan Spiteri, had a horrible outer loop. The car just did not turn in, and the amount of understeer he was getting, the car was wiggling through there, and I was worried that the rear was going to step out. And on top of that, he now has a half a second penalty that has to serve, as has Daniel Malia, the man up in P2. A mistake from the man on the podium might invite Ayrton Birmingham right back into the mix, as Denzel Agius has kept it clean, albeit very wide through there. Is he going to get a penalty for that one, I wonder? Not sure, but either way, Malia will now serve his half a second penalty, and that will allow, as we said, probably the championship favourite here for this Asphalt Kings Autobahn Legends Championship. Ayrton Birmingham a good chance at potentially getting this move done. He'll go side by side as they head through turn 6. He'll get the move done before turn number 6, and that cracking livery, the classic inspired livery BMW M3, is now back up to P2 and will chase down Denzel Agius.
Yeah, Denzel will be really wanting this. I'm sure he'll be really keeping himself in tune here, because he'll be aware of all the penalties that be happening around him. He's really kept it on the track, which is a good sign to see the clouds just loom over here at Watkins Glen. So they're just going to darken the track, which means the track temperature is going to get a little bit colder now. I wonder if that'll mean the tyres can be pushed that little bit more. I wonder if anyone has been potentially even saving to kind of make sure they're usable when we hit that kind of maybe 20 to 25-minute mark, and then you can go full chat all the way to the end here. But Dens is leading at a solid 1.5 seconds. I think that's going to be something he's going to try and carry. But if Ayrton Birmingham and Daniel Vella can just say to each other, hey, what are we doing here? Why are we just battling amongst ourselves? There's a race win ahead. If we work together, there's a race win for one of us four, rather than just this singular car. I think John Paul Vella is also going to go with them as well.
Yeah, certainly getting a little bit darker and a little bit windier as well. Actually, the wind is coming in from a sort of from a south-southwest direction at the moment, which at around about 1.5 meters per second, which could offer a little bit of a tailwind as you head through towards the inner loop. So that could make the cars a little bit unpredictable going through there, which is probably half of the reason why we're seeing so many penalties there, as we got a little bit of a mistake from both Christian Samet and Jonathan Spiteri grazing the wall. Remember, damage is on for this championship, so every scrape against the wall puts you at higher chance of potentially losing out on a good race pace when your car is severely damaged. Keep an eye on Jonathan Spiteri trying to close down on Christian Samet. Jonathan Spiteri has been particularly what should we say, aggressive on circuit for this one here. Watkins Glen certainly one of his favourite circuits, but it's not really helped him out at all here, because the man that should be a little bit higher up is still bump drafting Christian Samet as he heads his way now down towards the inner loop. Will Jonathan Spiteri go for the dive, or will he continue to tuck in behind Christian Samet? He will elect to do the latter as they now heads his way through the inner loop, just tucked in behind as well, keeping a very firm eye on David Misford. He's angry that he's down in P7 because he knows there is more pace at the moment than P7 at the moment.
Yeah, indeed, and he won't want to kind of settle in on, a potential reverse grid. He will really want to go full out here and attack that main kind of race. I think that will be really, really important for him. He needs to kind of move up maybe another place or two, and then he will just get some solitary points. It's all about getting some great points in these early stages here, James. So as a driver, you're really looking to see what opportunities you should take and what you shouldn't take. There will be a little bit of caution thrown to the wind for some drivers, but there's others that are going to be very, very desperate for that. So they'll just keep themselves in check, while some others may risk throwing their car off the racetrack.
So we are now approaching, in fact, we're just over, we're going to just be approaching halfway in this race, of course, at 30-minute race, 15 minutes the halfway marker, 13 minutes gone, 17 to go. Addicts, Ayrton Birmingham, he's not really making any inroads at the moment, isn't he, Denzel Agius? So Denzel Agius has now just been able to find his mojo, and this is where Denzel is at his best. If you don't shake him and you just let him pump out time trial after time trial lap, you can't really beat him at the moment. Although Ayrton Birmingham has got the fastest lap of this race, Denzel Agius is just finding his mojo out there on circuit at the moment, with the gap between him and the favourite for this championship, Ayrton Birmingham, holding at around about 1.4 seconds. If anything, at the moment, Daniel Malley are very happy to continue putting that pressure on Ayrton Birmingham at the moment, and don't ever discredit John Paul Vella, ever, the man currently in P4.
Indeed, a lot of these drivers are previous drivers of the championship. We'll go back to John Paul Vella's penalty in a moment, but a lot of drivers have kind of seen it all when it comes to the Asphalt Kings. So they know what to expect. They know how the format works. They know exactly what to do, what to look out for, and I think that experience just really helped in places. So you're going to be wanting to take that and really run with it. So back to John Paul Vella, because that penalty is going to be pretty costly. He's going up the S section right behind Daniel Vella. If he could potentially pull out something out of the hat, I think he's in a great chance of maybe just keeping that P3, but that's going to be a pretty difficult task here, and especially when we have just over 5 minutes left, 15 minutes left remaining of this race. We almost hit halfway distance, Oh, as Ayrton
Whoa.
Birmingham just going off the track there, and a slowdown is starting here for JPV. Will Ayrton Birmingham get that penalty? No, he is a very, very lucky boy, Ayrton Birmingham. Lucky to get away with that. So we'll have to see how he works on trying to catch up to Dent here. JPV gets his slowdown.
Yeah, and I think that's again a testament to the fact the wind has started to pick up again. It's now approaching 2 meters per second out there at the moment, and that is where he ended up making that mistake, was at the precise direction of the wind going out of the inner loop. So perhaps he's just found his car was a little bit uncharacteristic of what he's been experiencing for the last 12 laps of this race, and with just now over halfway through this race as it stands so far. Anyway, Denzel Agius is looking a little bit unharmed out there at the moment. He's the only one really out of those in the top 5 to sort of avoid any kind of time penalty, and as a result he's just been able to capitalise on that one and just start to manage his own race pace, albeit he has lost a couple of tenths actually to Ayrton Birmingham. While this is happening, we've still got that strong battle happening with Jonathan Spiteri, Dave Misford and Christian Sammer. He's been defending very well at the moment as Christian Sammer, still in P5, but we're expecting surely an overtake is going to be imminent here as they're bump drafting each other heading towards the inner loop. Is anyone going to go for the late breaker here? No, not at the moment, but the car's looking a little bit unstable as they head through here. Spiteri on the grass. Hopefully won't get a penalty for that one, but he'll now carry on around the circuit as the three of them have been really hugging each other pretty much for the last few laps here, just trying to manage their own race pace and try and get themselves into a decent little battle. It's good to see.
Yeah, I think they're also trying to latch onto the top 4, but that's a very difficult task. You know, they've given hand over fist to those 4 drivers in front. So I think they're also going to be trying to work with each other to try and force a way through. But again, it looks like David Mifflin is not wanting to do exactly that. He's trying to push on forward and also make an overtake here on Christian Sammer. But it's just going to be one of those where you may have to start working together, think about the bigger picture. But I think they're going to be some that may be looking for that second race here. So it looks like Miss is going to go up the inside here, lean on Sam. It's going to open an opportunity with Spiteri on that inside line. 3 and naturally aspirated inline 6 engines working as they head their way through the S's. Is there going to be a bit of contact, a bit of tapping here and there? But it looks like Sam is going to etch ahead here. Is there going to be more contact here? Because it looks like Miss is now going to be behind with that slipstream down towards the chicane we go. This could get pretty leery with Spiteri right on the inside. If he turns to the wrong point, this could end in catastrophe.
Lovely.
And he's ahead. Big move there from Spiteri, but he's going to cut the grass.
Oh, he took that corner way too hot, and I think the wind speed has picked up again. He might be in trouble, and he is. It's a 1 second penalty for Jonathan Spiteri. Now, he won't get it on this lap. He won't use it on this lap, but he will use it on the next lap. He went in far too hot, and now he's going to have to give those positions right back up to Christian Sammer and Dave Misford, and he'll find himself exactly where he started, back in P7 as a result of that one as well. And while this is happening, you've also got Osbert Schwereb getting into this little battle at the moment as well. So actually, you've got Jonathan Spiteri, who might end up falling far down as P8 as a result of this. Fantastic racing so far here. It's a 1.5 second penalty now for Jonathan Spiteri. He's cutting corners left, right and centre. I think pure frustration at the moment. It is the previous champion looking like he was going to be real champion material, but tonight, if Watkins Glen is usually his circuit, but he's just not finding any comfort out there at the moment in that BMW M3 from 1989. As they head through up at the top of the S's, then they'll head towards the inner loop. He'll serve that 1.5 second penalty that's out of the outskirts of the outer loop, and he'll find himself sink very low down to the fields of P8, I suspect. Christian Sammet, though, very happy to just hold his station. He's been defending very well, as Christian Sammet has just been able to manage it here and just keep very firm tabs on those around them and just hold on to P5, as he will retain when the yellow line is hit, which is right about there, as you can see. And Jonathan Spiteri will slow down very much so, and it'll be P6, P7, and there it is. It's P8.
Yeah, that's going to be painful for Jonathan Spiteri. I think he's now going to start focusing on the reverse grid. I think that it'll be important for him to, really get a reset for himself. So that will put him seventh on the grid. So as long as he gets a good start, makes his way through the slower pack immediately within the first maybe 8 minutes, then he's got a great opportunity of taking a win. So maybe he has to think more about the long term of getting that reverse grid, then go forward from there. But he's got some awfully quick drivers to keep an eye out for. I want to know what the entire field spread is at the moment, because there's 14 drivers in the field. There's the last driver that's just going through the exit of turn 1 here. So looks like John Paul Vella has been given a slowdown penalty here, so that's not going to help his cause. Meanwhile, Ayrton Birmingham is being pressurized here by Daniel Vella. These two really tussling it out and dueling it out, with Denzel Adjius just there within an arm's reach of these two. So if these two decide to slow each other up here, then that will be detrimental to both their chances. The three Brits turning their way in towards the left, in towards the right at the final corner, and Denzel Adjius is really just etching himself away here. But yeah, if Daniel Vella can just work out how to put pressure here, and in fact, I've gone wrong here, because here comes Ayrton Birmingham putting pressure here to the back of Denzel Adjius. Adjius is now going to have to go defensive on that inside line. Who's got the better brakes here? I think he's gone a little bit too hard at Denzel Adjius, and I think Birmingham has opened up an opportunity. He's going to get the push here from Vella as well, so keep an eye out for what that third place car can do up toward the S. Is getting pretty tight as well. Denzel Adjius will be feeling the pressure from all sorts around him.
Yes, and that's the thing. Denzel Adjius, first time he's going to be finding any kind of pressure at the moment here. Wonder how he's going to handle it, as we've got Ayrton Birmingham, who's going to have the inside line, but Daniel Malley, who's got the fastest lap of this race, is putting all sorts of pressure on the pair of them at the moment, going through into the inner loop. Around the outside they will go. Will Malley be able to stay within track limits? You think he just did, and actually after all of that one and all of that pressure, Ayrton Birmingham's been relegated to P3. It's a great bit of racing from Malley. He'll get the wider exit going through the outer loop, but no penalties to be served. Denzel Adjius a little bit of breathing space once again, but Ayrton Birmingham will be wondering, how the hell am I down in P3 after all of that?
Yeah, he'll be really questioning that one, and I think that he's just got to continue to push on. You've not got too much time left. He's just got just under 8 minutes remaining of this one, so he's going to have to really just try and find a way. I think just use Daniel Vella as a potential to push on forward. He's going to make a move now in toward the 90, and this is where tensions really rise here for a lot of drivers here. Down in towards the 90 he goes, and he's actually going to make that move stick. It seems like he is up into second. Meanwhile, David Mifsford just being challenged there by Christian Samp, but they're still side by side. In fact, Birmingham left on the outside there. You can see on the marbles and the pickup that is in the on the road there. He's just trying to keep himself on that inside line. Who's going to get a toe potentially off Denzel Adjius? And I wonder if Denzel Adjius, if he has any idea this is all going on. He's seen the gap kind of close and then extend and then close and extend, but in towards the chicane. I think Birmingham's all out of shape there, and he's just managed to hold on in that all-white BMW. That was pretty leery, and I'm sure that he may need a change of you-know-what by the time he hits the checker flag.
Yeah, JPV also closing down the gap at the moment, up in P4 as he tries to close down the gap. Only around about 3/4 of a second now against Addicts, that is Ayrton Birmingham. If you're wondering about the situation in terms of tyres, don't worry about it. Sports medium tyres for everyone on circuit means that the degradation is very low around here as well. So expectations is that this race will go the distance, albeit maybe for fuel stops if people have underfueled their cars. Either way, with that sports medium tyre on, not that much in the way of grips compared to the race tyre, but everyone's seemingly able to just hold on. But that wind speed is picking up again, and in fact it's going a little bit more due east, and that will apply a bit more pressure as you go through the 90, I suspect, actually, because you'll get that little bit of a gust of wind as you turn the car, and you might lose the rear ever so slightly. So the driver's starting to feel that now.
you're really starting to potentially feel the effects of that win now on the side of your car. John Paul Mellor now has got an opportunity as he sets a purple first sector. He's really kind of kept himself quiet in the midst of all of this happening. So that will be massive to keep an eye out for. Yeah, Vela will just keep himself in tune with this battle as David Mifsud now ahead of Christian Samuel. I believe he was actually still ahead, but it's a battle that's still going on. Oscar Zverev and Jonathan Spiteri have put themselves in a position where they're still side by side, but only for 7th place, and that's going to be not where they wanted. But this is kind of put themselves 7th in the reverse grid spot. So this is kind of there's that extra advantage. Big slap there to the side of Johnson Spiteri. BMW's Oscar Zverev tries to go on that outside line, but who's going to have the better exit of this one? It looks like it's going to be the gold BMW of Spiteri, unless Zverev can just edge ahead. But I think he's got enough of an exit to just keep that car in front of the all golds BMW M3. This is a pretty rough and tumble battle here. Also, Joel Falzon de Bono there in P9 and Ilmore in P10. So they are completing off the top 10. You see that Jussier as well, Adrian Zoom, Marlon Spiteri. So down to 13, unfortunately. The field spread 35 seconds. So that's not too bad whatsoever. Some really, really good racing here. As Denzel Adjias has been overtaken here by Daniel Vella. And now it's seen, there's a collision at the back. That's going to be Birmingham going through. Vella's slid into towards the inside Armco, and carnage is now starting to kick off here.
Yeah, not due to the tyres. I think people have just started to feel the pressure at the moment because they know there's only 4 minutes left in this race, believe it or not, folks. And that is a critical mistake there from Ayrton Birmingham. Forget Ayrton Birmingham, sorry, he's up into P2, but he's obviously racing really well with the likes of Denzel Adjias. But Denzel Adjias, suddenly his pace has started to fall off a little bit. And again, I don't think that's due to tyres. I just think at the moment, those are the front two have started to feel that they've got a little bit of mojo and they've got to start using their tyres and what's left of their fuel. 0.3 of a second going there towards the back. It looks like it's very much going to be a three-way battle for this race victory tonight. Worth mentioning, by the way, we're actually down to 13 runners in this race as well, so we've had a DNF at some point in this race as well, but the action has been so tightly compacted, we've completely missed it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that person is back in the lobby for the next race. Either way, Daniel, what a race this has been from him. He's been up and down, side to side, like a roller coaster. He's got penalty after penalty, and he still has the fastest lap of this race, and he's still churning out very close to personal bests at the moment as well, Ismailia. This has been a cracking drive from a man that's just driving what seems to be a classic 1989 BMW M3.
It is. It's not quite been a Sunday drive, I think, for any of the drivers in the first race of this series. But they've really worked towards what could potentially be a fantastic result. And they've just got to try and keep themselves in tune. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be over whatsoever. I wonder if Denzel Adjias has gone and done anything compared to the rest of these guys. I think they just maybe found some really nice slipstream. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but Denzel Adjias is leading really comfortably until the last couple of laps, where it's just seemingly like he's got involved in a battle, being kind of pushed to the side, and now drops to P3. So I wonder if he's now going to try and regain himself with 2 minutes left to go on the clock. 2 laps left remaining here, so plenty of opportunities. It's not going to be held to level just yet, I think, in this one, James.
Here we go then, folks, with a little bit under a minute and a half to go in this one. It looks like to me we're going to get this and another lap at the end of this one here. And then, of course, we will have, you better not go away, because we've, of course, got our sprint race following, a 20-minute sprint. Everyone will be dropping a compound of tyre, going from the sports medium to the sports soft. So an opportunity for people to capitalise on that one, as the wind speeds have actually gone due south now and have increased once again. So the track conditions, not deteriorating, but certainly getting more and more difficult with the race as it's gone on. And that's probably caught Denzel Adjias out a little bit, in fairness, because he was racing really well throughout this one, but then he's just sort of started to lose his pace a little bit. And again, it's not due to the tyre compound. The sports medium has lasted a significant chunk of time without any kind of challenge. So it's all about now just, maintaining it. And at the moment, his pace at the moment has not been up there. Here's JPV racing at the moment with David Mifsford at the moment. The checker flag will be coming out at the end of this lap for these guys, and this is going to be the last do-or-die attempt to climb up to P4. Of course, they will fall down the standings for the sprint race, but just keep a very firm eye on that one as well as it goes side by side through here. We'll go back towards the front. Is there any improvement whatsoever from Malia, from Birmingham, from Agius? As it stands so far, it looks like the front three are maintaining the status quo. If anything, Malia has actually been able to extend his situation at the moment towards the front. He's got so much confidence in that BMW M3 from 1989 with 5 seconds left on the clock. The checkered flag will be waving at the start finishing line. Is that a mistake from Malia, I wonder? There is the checkered flag. Is that a mistake from him? I think he might have just got away with it, but I think he's just started to get a little bit complacent now, and he's got to realise not to track extend, because otherwise that penalty will be applied at the start finishing line as he heads his way towards turn number 6 and turn number 7. Look at that, he's setting near personal best. He's absolutely flying, and in the end, even with all of those penalties applied, with all of those slowdowns applied, he wasn't going to be slowed down. In the end, will he be setting the fastest race time and thus coming across the line as the race victor for the feature race here tonight at Watkins Glen. Checkered flag out. Great stuff from Malia, from Birmingham, from Denzel Agius. Our front three are the expected favourites for this one. Here's Misford for P4, JPV finishing in 5. Sama is 6th. You've got Spiteri in 7th. Schwereb, he'll be very happy actually with a P8 in my opinion. Falzon de Bono won't be happy with 9th though, and Moore will finish in P10. The rest of the field will be coming across the line as and when. Of course, we've had one DNF in this race. Hopefully they will be joining us for the sprint race in just a few short moments time. But Adam Reed, wow, we thought that we think the likes of Eton Birmingham were going to be the favourites for this one, but Watkins Glen proved to be a little bit of a challenge.
It did. Definitely the track limits. It's the immediate kind of, outpointed there. It was just something that really kind of affected these drivers, the ones that really had that open opportunity. But there you can see Daniel Vella is your eventual champion, or eventual winner, I should say, of this one. 3 Brits on the podium ahead of Ayrton Birmingham and Denzel Agius. David Misford will be 4th ahead of John Paul Vella. Christian Sam will be there in 6th ahead of Jonathan Spiteri, and then we'll find Osbert Schwereb rounding off that top 8. Then we find Joel Falzon de Bono, and then Ilmore in P10. That will be a pretty solid result. Juicia with Marlon Spiteri, Adrian Zoom, and Clint Orlan DNFing from the race. So I believe, I'm not entirely sure how the rules will go, but I believe he'll start at the back, in fact. So keep an eye on where Clint Orland does start for this one, whether that be in the front of the pack or would that be right at the back, because I believe that maybe I think there might be a rule that if you do DNF you might start at the back. Just I think that would be completely fair. 13th managed to finish on the road, and if they don't, if they're not on the top spot, then I think that's a little bit not right.
We'll see what happens anyway. All of the stewards will now be doing their deliberation and getting everything set up for the main sprint race in just a few short moments time. Before we go for our quick break, a quick reminder that in the end it looked like to me that Eton Birmingham was going to be one of the favourites. He did finish in P2, but Malia showing all of that pressure, but Denzel Agius losing that P1 after being so far up. Can he and the front three now at the back be able to manage this one? Will they be able to climb up towards the sprint race? They've got 40 litres of fuel and they've got sports soft tyres for this main race in just a few short moments time. Don't go away. Sprint race is coming up. Welcome back to Velocity Sports and this, the Autobahn Legends Asphalt Kings Championship. It is myself, James Otto, Adam Reed, continuing on with the coverage of our round one race in the Watkins Glen. Now, I tell you one thing, Adam, it was an absolute blinder of a main race, wasn't it? Now we go forward into our sprint race. It is a reverse grid now, so we're going to head over. I think we've got an infographic as well by the looks of things, which is very nice. There it is. The situation report is now we head our way through to the sprint race. Everyone is going to have less fuel, 40 litres, but they're going to have a softer compound of tyre in the sports soft tyre. So it's all about now just keeping it clean, keeping it cool, nice and easy, especially with that reverse grid around this 11-turn track.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely interesting. You know, we saw in that first race, you know, how competitive everyone else was. You know, using the bump draft to try and catch up to the main pack. But I think when it started to go a little bit out of hand for some drivers, yeah, it started to you know, started to frustrate a lot of other drivers. It started to really break gaps as well. And really, if we found a kind of, you know, main battle of eight split up into, you know, three or maybe even four different fights. So, you know, it's going to be one of those where in a shorter race, I think the tensions are still going to be there from the first race. And you're just going to be trying to manage absolutely everything. So it'll just be about a mix of, you know, keeping yourself aggressive or keeping yourself, you know, a little bit conservative as well. You've got to really balance this one come the sprint race.
Yeah, this is where the sprint race comes into play now because, of course, we know that our front three were separated by a very small margin, around about a second over that main race that we've had. Now, of course, they're all going to be at the back on all racing with people who were quite a ways behind. So they've all got to try and keep it cool, keep it nice and easy, as I believe we are about to get going with the main race, actually. It looks like the drivers are very keen to get going with this one. Watkins Glen always proving to be a little bit of a challenge, hasn't it, Adam? And these drivers clearly enjoying the challenge, especially with the wind speeds. The wind speeds definitely played a factor in the main race. Now we've got, of course, the sprint race ahead of us here. The situation report is that, as I said, lower fuel, but more grippier tyres. So if the wind continues to be the way it is, one suspects that it's going to prove to be an even further challenge. Now the cars are a bit lighter.
Yeah, you know, you can think about that. You know, the way the cars are going to be a little bit lighter. You know, you can throw them around just that little bit. So, um, I
Here we
do
go.
believe that there will be some more opportunities. I do wonder how kind of more the slower cars will be going around. You can see Asian Zoom now. It's going to be at the forefront of that. So Jonathan Spiteri will be starting seventh. Oscar Schweder will be starting sixth. So keep an eye on how quickly they can get to the forefront of the field. But we'll now head our way down the main straight on towards the start-finish line for the second time here in Watkins Glen. We go racing at the Glen and in towards the 90 for the second time at the off the five red lights, and it looks like Adrian Zoom will go in pretty nicely. It's about now building confidence for some drivers. Lovely to see the Jägermeister livery in there, as Christian Samet also has a little bit of a break in the battle here. They'll head their way up the hill through the mist of Watkins Glen, and now the slipstream will start to really come upon us here. They head their way on towards the chicane for the first time in this sprint race. They'll be looking for opportunities left, right, and centre. And we now see who will potentially be the first one to make that chess piece move. It looks like Potts will now try and make a potential move through here, but looks like John Paul Vetter getting a little bit out of shape, but all still line astern for now.
Yes, and remember the wind speeds and the wind direction has completely changed. So, situation report is quite simply that John Paul Vella has, and the rest of the drivers have got to manage a completely different circuit. It's no doubt are going to be a lot colder as well with how this track is sort of, I don't know, manage the temperatures, manage the track temperature, which is almost certainly going to be a lot lower. Meanwhile, one thing I want to make note of here is down at the back, of course, there is Clint Orland. Of course, he did not finish the race, so as a result, he ended up starting from the back. As it looks like to me, we've already got a mistake from our front runner drivers down at the back. Daniel Malley has made a mistake. He's now got a half a second penalty to his name that he will now serve at the outer loop, which is going to put him at a way ways distance from Ayrton Birmingham and Denzel Agius, who themselves haven't really made any inroads, if I'm honest with you, against the likes of John Paul Vella and Potsy. And I'm wondering if they're just trying to manage this one. But one thing is for certain, Denzel Agius is bomb drafting one of the favourites for this title in Ayrton Birmingham. So I'm wondering if he's going to go for the dive here, if he's going to try and put him under pressure. Is he going to look for it potentially going into the next corner? I don't think he is. He's going to manage it, but with that half a second penalty for Daniel Malia, that's going to prove a significant challenge, considering that the back three, our front three of this main race, isn't really looking particularly fast in this early stage of this race, especially now the half a second penalty will be applied.
No, I think what you're kind of thinking about is, you know, there was about 35-ish, maybe 40 seconds between the entire field. You know, that's just over, maybe you're looking over a second a lap. So there's over a second a lap difference there, maybe a second and a half. There's more carnage happening in towards the final corner. 3 wide at one point. Look at the back there. That's going to get pretty tight. That's not the first time we've seen that tonight. And they head their way in toward the 90. Who's going to be later on the break there? Looks like Osman Schwedem's going to go. I thought I was going to go off the track then. I was so scared that he completely misjudged his braking point because he was either looking in his mirrors or at something else on his screen. So they'll charge their way up through the S's, and look at that Spiteri now on that inside line here of Juicia, and I think also Ilmore will also be potentially getting in the way here. He'll pull to the right hand side. Will he be able to just make his way through? He'll make his way through here on the third plate car and put himself up there. I think, yeah, just keep yourself in the running here is the main plan for Spiteri. I think the former champion is now going to look to potentially try and just put himself up a big position. But yeah, more battling going on here. John Paul Vella in the midst of this. So many cars right behind him trying to find a way through.
Oh, around the outside from Dave Potts. That's brave enough as it is, but we've got people going 2-3 wide going through here as well. It's getting a real strong battle towards the back and the front here, to be honest with you, as this the reverse grid is proving to be a significant challenge for our front runner drivers who can't make any significant inroads. Collision potentially between Ayrton Birmingham and Denzel Agius, well held between the two Brits as they now head their way back towards the 90. Potts has defended like a lion against these guys, and he's happy to keep holding them back, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But here comes a dive from JPV against Osbert Schwereb, and then you've got Christian Samet trying to get in the mix and gets the double switch and the double overtake done at the 90. Great stuff from the Pennzoil M3. So as he heads now down up the hill, rather, you've got Osbert Schwereb trying his hardest to hold the defending line from JPV, but you can see there, here comes Dave Potts around the outside as well. Great racing between these guys as they now head their way towards the inner loop, and you've got Miles Pateri giving a nice little tow to the fielders here. As Osbert Schwereb looking for it, it's going to be a late breaker, certainly going through here. They're going side by side. That's not going to help JPV colliding there as Ayrton Birmingham welcomes in the mix. We've got people going a little bit wide, Denzel Agius, and there we've got a mistake from Ayrton Birmingham. He has a 1 second penalty. He won't serve it here, but he'll serve it on the next lap, and that will offer opportunities for those around to consider what they want to do with that Ayrton Birmingham slowdown on the next lap.
Yeah, I just wonder, because look at how many big drivers here right at the back of the pack still outside the top 10. We're 5 minutes into this race. We're over a quarter of the way through this race, and now Ayrton Birmingham is a penalty down there in 11th. That's not what they want, but this is exactly what we try and get out of the sprint race. We want these guys batting away at the back, and by the time they've realised we're halfway through the race, and they still barely got anywhere. Meanwhile, you've got Spiteri leading from the front. Oh my word, that's getting pretty frisky there. Round goes Ayrton Birmingham, John Paul Vella in the wall. That's going to be big damage for a lot of the cars here, and these are some big front runners. That's going to really affect their chances here. Denzel Agius still in P11. He's right behind Clint Orland as well. After all of this, that was not ideal for any of them behind.
Oh, that's critical. That is critical indeed. For those in the midfield, we thought that that was going to occur, and then there's been a horrible accident at the 90, and people were drifting around the 90 and found themselves in the wall. Denzel Agius is now a firm favourite to just sort of lead an independent drive, but as he got the pace himself to get past these midfielders, now he's got nobody around of significant pace to challenge him. He might find he's in a good position. Marlon Spiteri serving a 2-second slowdown, relegates him down to P9 as Clint Orland is trying to close down the gap on him, and of course the Denzel Agius. Clint Orland gets that move done from P14 to P9. It's a decent race from the Maltese man, but Denzel Agius will be chasing down as fast as he possibly can. What a horrible scenario for Ayrton Birmingham. He finds himself now down the field as Jonathan Spiteri, the aggressor as he's been throughout the last race. He's now finding himself in the lead of this race with a healthy margin over Moore.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really, really positive there for Jonathan Spiteri, and that's exactly what he needed to do. He just needed to get himself disattached from those drivers and then find himself in some really clear spaces. So we'll have to see how the rest of the race is managed, because it's still, I'd say personally, early stages, but you know, we're starting to get into that midst of, you know, you've gone through the early phases, you've now got to really focus on that middle phase and then just see if you can pick off whatever points and opportunities you can to set yourself up for the finish there. Juicia now looking to see if he would potentially try and take a third place away from either Adrian Zoom or Joel Falzon de Bono, but look at the gap well, I should say look at the cars behind him. Sammett's in there, look at David Mifsud and also Osbert Jwedeb. They've been some pretty racy drivers over the first couple of minutes of this one, so they're going to be looking for opportunity left, right and centre. Two Brits pretty much sandwiched in a row of Maltese drivers. How are they going to go about this business here with Samet looking pretty racy in behind? What is he going to make a chess piece move very, very soon? I reckon so, but actually now he's going to be filled with the Jägermeister car just in behind.
Just keeping a firm eye as well on that incident that occurred on the fifth lap of this race, around about 5 minutes, just a bit under 6 minutes into this race. It looks like Daniel Malia managed to get up on the inside of Ayrton Birmingham at the 90, but in doing so, he ended up colliding into the side of John Paul Vella. He got a tank slapper and a horrible switchback straight into the wall. Ayrton Birmingham crashed into the wall, but in doing so, spins out Daniel Malia, who then collides into, guess who? Denzel Agius. So I think Agius has got some kind of damage to his car as well. That would be the expectation anyway. So this might turn out to be a bit of a midfielders race here, and they may sense it. Adrian getting a horrible little bit of a snake on, to be honest with you, going through there as well. A tank slapper, very well held, but unfortunately still losing the position regardless to David Mifsford as he heads his way through towards P4. Christian Samet still in P6. Definitely, if there's a defender of the race trophy, it's got to go to this Maltese man. Samet has just been able to defend like a lion, and he's not really been any kind of it's been a bit of a brick wall, a bit of a moving chicane, hasn't he, for a lot of people tonight?
He has, and he's been spectacular. He's just now got to try and focus on moving forward, because there is a big opportunity for him potentially to even take a second place here, unless Spiteri makes a mistake, but then he can go one better. But in towards the 90, he's still, I think, looking behind him as Osbert Jwedeb just absolutely barges Juicia out of the way. The Brit now falling down to 8, and of course still the big drivers not being able to make something happen. Clint Orland now with a 1 second penalty for track limits, I believe. That would have been down at the 90, just maybe too wide there. But can I just say, the livery on Orland, absolutely stunning. And we didn't get to see that because unfortunately he was the run to retire in that opening race. The Monster Energy inspired black through to purple, blue, black, but not ideal. Now it's going to be picking up a little bit of brown because of that grass and the dirt that flicks up onto the car, and that's going to be now 2 seconds worth of penalties. Ouch.
Ouch indeed, he made a mistake, did Clint Holland, taking the inner loop a little bit too hard. He cut the corner. He did try to slow down to avoid it, but he will now slow down for a total of 2 seconds, a little bit wide. Fouls on Del Bono in a very good position at P4 at the moment. The man who was down at the factor of P10, and he has gone too far wide at turn 6. He's now received a half a second slowdown. That's going to allow Adrian back up into the depths of P4 at the moment, as Jonathan Spiteri, I've got to be honest with you here, is starting to run away with it, as Dave Misford is sick and tired of waiting and gets that move done, no issue whatsoever at the 90. Alfonso Del Bono will also try his hardest to get past Moore, but with that half a second penalty it will be in vain when he approaches the outer loop, as it looks like Jonathan Spiteri is just managing his own race pace at the moment, so it is all about this midfield battle and for the rest of the podium.
It is indeed. You're going to be wanting to get on that podium. I think for a lot of drivers are, and a lot of drivers do have that opportunity. But look at that. Salmon now on the attack here for Ilmore as he heads his way into the chicane. Hopefully no contact in that bar. He's up to P4 and will potentially even try to make it P3 when Joel fouls on De Bono. Serves his penalty, but Moore back on the inside here of the yellow and black car. Here comes fouls on De Bono. He's going to move off the racing line and potentially even might keep third, but then again you've got Sam at there stealing it, taking candy from a baby. And there, big shove there from Adrian Zoom on fouls on De Bono, and Moore will sneak on through potentially as well, but he's on that outside line, and that Jägermeister car is not giving him whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very overtake as potent as Jägermeister there, I think, to be honest with you. Adrian tried to go for the dive because he knew that half a second penalty was going to work in his favour, but in doing so he's overdriven the car and lost a position to not just Del Bono but also to Moore, who's now up to P4. They're colliding a little bit at the 90. They continue here as it looks like Osbert Schwereb is going to continue on. I'm looking at the back of that car at the moment. I'm not sure what's happened to that black car. I believe that was Adrian. He got a load of smoke out of the exhaust. I don't know if that was a glitch, but certainly that car didn't look healthy, but he'll continue racing regardless. Denzel Agius is back in the mix, by the way, while this is all happening. He's certainly got damage to the front of that BMW, so whether or not the Brabham Makers Works car can actually manage it as it go through the inner loop. Osbert Swearer very happy, but will serve a 1.5 second penalty, not on this occasion but certainly on the next one. That I thought he cut the corner at the inner loop and it looked pretty aggressive, and he's now going to have to serve that one, and that's going to be a big loss considering how close it is battling here, especially that one between Del Bono and Adrian. They continue side by side, do the team for P6 and P7. Who's going to come out on top as they approach turn 6, turn 7? Down the inside Del Bono will go, and he'll maintain the lead, but a nice little switch back between him and Adrian. Is Adrian going to look for it at 7? No, he'll hold on to P7 in the end as they continue racing. Very good stuff, but now with that 1.5 second penalty for Osbert Schwereb, he's going to find himself tumbling down the order pretty rapidly, and Moore found himself back up to P4.
Yeah, indeed he will do. I think Schwedep has really cost himself here. He's going to fall right the way down in what is A, a short race and B, a big opportunity for him. It'll be interesting who kind of takes that 4th place, because there's so many drivers that could have had it. So many drivers have sat in 4th place just off the podium in the throughout the last 40.5 minutes. But obviously we need someone to sit in that place. Meanwhile, Denzel Agius has slowly climbed himself up to 8 to make that 7th, and almost made that 6th place, but he's going to go a little bit wide here, just deciding to back out of that one. But yeah, he hasn't made as much of a gain as I thought he would. I thought he would have been maybe all over the podium by now, but in fact he's not quite there. But he will look to potentially maybe make a move here as Osbert Schwedep takes his slowdown penalty. There goes Adrian Zoom, there goes Joel Falzon De Bono, and now he's going to defend here from Denzel Agius. Agius is going to look around the outside, but he's going to find that route being blocked off by the Maltese driver, and he says, well, if you're going to block that road off, I'm going to send it up the inside here at the last corner. How about that for a move?
Yeah, lovely move there from Denzel Agius, a man that we think has got damage to that car, pretty significant damage, we think, especially to the front end of it, as a result of that collision earlier on lap 5 of this race. Osbert Swereb is going to send it down the inside, but no move available for him, as Denzel Agius will maintain the P7 that he's been really fighting for, but I think he's got a bit of understeer at the moment on that BMW. Not to say that other people down the order is in a worse position than him, if we're perfectly honest with you, because look at Ayrton Birmingham down in the depths of P12. His car is looking increasingly slow. JPV down in P13 as well. And we have another DNFer from this race as well that we missed. It again, just this sheer velocity, if you will, pardon the pun, of this championship is allowing for us to see just how well that these drivers are able to get the action going, and we're missing so much. So you guys have got to have better eyes than us, that is for certain.
Yeah, indeed, you have to really dart around it. Look, the sun has appeared on the Watkins Glen circuit, so it will then mean that these tyres are going to be working that extra little bit harder compared to when the clouds were cooling down the track. Now it's heating back up. So will they be gaining more temperature? I believe they will. Adrian Zoom now having a half a second penalty. That top three still as follows of Spiteri, then David Mifsud, and then Christian Sam Ilmore leading this pack. He's got almost 3 seconds there to Christian Sam. Sam not quite there with Mifsud. I think it looks like Spiteri's absolutely dashed down the road. Is that like... yeah, 6.5 seconds is the gap. Unbelievable from the Maltese driver. He has no idea what is happening behind him, and that's how you know you've done a good job in a race. Where you have absolutely no idea what has happened behind you, and then you get told at the end, oh, there was multiple incredible battles happening behind you whilst you were leading out from the front here. Look at the lap time, staying very, very consistent in the low 121s as well. He hasn't he's kept within that since lap 6 as well, and with now 2.5 minutes left to go of this one, this is starting to get pretty dominant here for Jonathan Spiteri.
He's looking like he's going to be setting another personal best as well in this one. Lap 7 was his last personal best of a 1:21.139. He'll come across the line right now with a 1:21 treble 1, so he is going faster at the moment, is the man leading this race, who's just happy to maintain his ready pace at the moment. Where's Denzel Agis in this? He's now up to P5, by the way, as his race starts to sort of come good, but he's 3/10 down on Jonathan Spiteri at the moment, albeit he is battling with people at the moment, but he's just started to find his inroads again. And what an opportunity is on the cards here for Denzel Agis. It might not be a race victory, but with his nearest co-compatriots in the championship so low down with that major damage on their cars, he could take a good opportunity for a good P5, maybe even a P4, earn the points in this sprint race and put a bit of a gap between him and Ayrton Birmingham and JPV.
Indeed, still so much left of this one. So little time remaining. 2 laps to go in this one. And Denzel Agis is going to be after that P4 spot after a third place in the opening round. He's going to really hope for another third place with 2 podiums for Denzel Agis in 2 races. I think he would absolutely take that if that's what you told him before the broadcast started. He's going to try that outside line of Ilmore. He's done that before, and it ended with him shoving his way through, and he's doing the exact same move, but even then before the corner. In fact, Denzel Agis up into 4th. Fantastic move from the Brit.
Yeah, fantastic stuff indeed. This will be the last lap of this race, by the way, folks. It's a 20-minute sprint, and we're only just half a minute left in this race. It's absolutely flown, hasn't it? As we've got Denzel Agis trying to defend from a potential move here between Ilmore and Adrian Zoom. Will continue to race here for a top 5 finish here. One opportunity for the midfielders as well, with the front runners so low down in the standings other than Denzel Agis. So good opportunity to earn some big points here if they continue onwards. Here they go as they now head their way up through the and then towards the inner loop. It's looking very much like this is going to be Jonathan Spiteri's race of just sort of high performance, but with everyone else all around the outer loop they will go. It's all about that racing in that midfield. Denzel Agis has already put a gap between him and Ilmore, so it's all about that battle for P5. Adrian Zoom making a mistake at the outside of the inner loop. He'll find himself with a time penalty that will be applied when he comes across the start finishing line. I suspect there it is, 1 second penalty for him. He will lose that time and lose that those positions critically for him, but it's all about this man, isn't it? Jonathan Spiteri has shown all the pace that he needs in order to show that he is a sprint race winner here in the Autobahn Legends Asphalt Kings. Jonathan Spiteri comes at the top of the standings for this one. And then you've got Dave Mifsud once again. What a performance is from Potsy as he comes across the line to finish in P2. Christian Sammet finishing in a very respectable P3, a very clean race from him. Denzel Agius will look to try and defend here off the line from Ilmore. No issue whatsoever for him, and he'll finish in P4. Other penalties now are going to start being applied as people fall down the standings. 9th, 10th for Clint Hall, and a very lowly P11th for Ayrton Birmingham. JPV P12, and there is Osbert Schwereb, who will serve a 1-second penalty when he comes across the line, finishing in the last place in P13, but not the last place of the race. We did have a DNF in that one. Wow, wow, wow. There it is. Top race victory then for Jonathan Spiteri in the sprint race.
Yep, and that was absolutely well done for Jonathan Spiteri. Another win for him, and that's going to really put some confidence in and a spring in the step of him. David Mifsud in second, followed by Christian Sammer. Brilliant result for him. Denzel Agius, I'm sure, will be happy with the 4th place after all of that. And one about Ilmore. He'll be in 5th, had a Joel Falzon de Bono with Agent Zoom in P7, followed by Daniel Vella rounding out the top 8, and then rounding out the top 10 will be Marlon Spiteri with Orlan, and then it'll be the fastest Ayrton Birmingham 1 minute 20.9, the only driver in the 1 minute 20, with John Paul Vella in 12th, who barely got anywhere. Then comes Osbert Juedo and Juicia coming in last. Fortunately, a DNF for him. But overall, I think we can walk away with this one here, James, thinking we've had a pretty successful round. I think the next 4 races will definitely be eye-catchers for sure.
Yep, certainly will be. We're going to be taking a trip over to our one and only magical circuit that doesn't exist, but circuit that always brings some really intense racing in the infield A variant of the Blue Moon Bay Speedway, of course, and that will be taking part in the Audi TT Coupe. It's a 3.2 litre engine in the back of that car, and the 2003 model. We'll be taking a trip a week later then after that one on the 23rd in the 911 GT3. That's from 2001. Volkswagen Golf VII, wow, Mark 7, rather, from 2014, and then we'll wrap it up with the Mercedes-Benz 190 E2 2.5 inline 6 from 1991. So, trip over to Blue Moon Bay Speedway. It's a completely, unknown circuit. It's a circuit that doesn't exist, so it offers people a completely different challenge in a car that is notoriously difficult on the rear, Adam.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that kind of all turns out. Of course, it's an interesting layout from what I can see. I'm sure I'm gonna have to now do some big old research to see how that goes. But it could be a very interesting sequence. I'm sure I'll come back with a lot of eye-catching points about that circuit. But yeah, with the Audi TT Coupes, I'm sure there will be really, really good to a great challenge, I think, for all of our drivers. But I've really enjoyed the BMWs. They've been absolutely amazing to keep a look at, and I'm sure I want that kind of racing to continue where the gaps are very, very minimal, and you're seeing in probably 25 seconds amongst the entire field after a race. It's been really, really eye-catching to see.
Yeah, the ladies, if you will, brought an absolutely fantastic race ahead of us, and the BMW M3 showed that this car in the Watkins Glen proved to be quite a big challenge for a selection of people all around the field, especially those towards the front. In that sprint race, it showed that in the end you can earn the big points if you are in the midfield. What can they do in the Audi TTs next time out at Blue Moon Bay Speedway? Take care. See you next week.